Let's talk about this for a second.
Have y'all noticed yet that all these people out protesting are the same ones that want you to pay for their college and their student loans? But now they're stock market and tariff experts.
First of all, nobody wants somebody else to pay for their student loans. They want it paid for through their taxes that they're paying as well. But more to the point, you're talking about how these people are now tariff and stock market experts. That gentleman's last name is Talley. That is Mr. Talley. He is a military veteran, somebody that had an issue at a VA. Let's just pause right there. First things first, thank you very much for your service, Mr. Talley. He had an issue at a VA. He was misdiagnosed, and I believe they missed an infection in his spine, and he had some issues as a result of it. And the VA kind of fucked around with him and kind of drug him along, and eventually said, you know, hey, that's not our employee, that's actually a contractor, and they waited until the statute of limitations played out and all of this shit. And this gentleman got pissed off, and he decided he was going to change that, and he sought out members of Congress to create a bill that could change the way the VA operates as far as notifying people when somebody's not an employee, or notifying people when somebody has had a history of, I'm simplifying this, of course, a history of malpractice or whatnot, what have you. And he couldn't find anybody to sponsor it until he did find somebody to sponsor it. Then ultimately it got put into a package with other VA issues. I forget what the large bill was. I was really focusing more on his bill. And then ultimately it was signed into law by Trump a couple of days before his first term was up. So the reason why I'm saying all that is to give you some background. So this gentleman is taking to TikTok talking about how, you know, now all of a sudden these people are experts on tariffs and on Wall Street and the stock market. Well, you were in the military and then you did landscaping, which is what I do or did. And now here you are talking about the market and tariffs. Are you a market expert and a tariff expert? Did you learn to be a tariff and market expert landscaping or in the military? Are you a judicial expert? You got some content here having to do with judges being activists. I like here how you say Tesla, the breakup of the decade. Does the left prefer gas guzzlers now? I don't know. Does the right prefer electric vehicles now? Apparently, you're an expert on Canadian politics. I mean, damn, man. You seem to be covering a whole lot of shit here. Are you all of a sudden an expert on all of those fields, or does your hypocrisy only go so far? And by the way, you are shredding Democrats up and down your page, right? Shredding Democrats, how bad and evil they are, and how awesome Republicans and Trump are, and all of this shit, and how Trump was the one that signed your bill into law. You have a podcast, you've written about it. Congratulations on effecting change at the VA. I'm being dead serious when I say that. Most people wouldn't take it to the steps that you have. But why are you ripping on Democrats and praising Trump when you went? It says in on your own website the thousands of hours of flights and all of the endless amount of people that you met with trying to get this bill, somebody to sponsor this bill, but you couldn't find it. And then who sponsored it for you? Oh, that's right, a Democrat from California. As a matter of fact, the bill ultimately wound up with 9 Democratic co-sponsors and 2 Republican. I mean, you talk about it here, right? Unable at first to find support, Talley wrote the bill himself and took it to Washington, D.C. I have over 11,000 hours logged, 4 trips to D.C., visited 9 states and dozens of congressional districts, not to mention the thousands of phone calls and emails. Finally, you found a Democrat willing to take up your cause. But on your page, you rip Democrats and you praise Republicans. And when you're talking about your bill, it's right here on your website. A VA medical malpractice injury left Brian with no recourse, no justice, and no accountability. Brian stood up in the face of adversity in his weakest and most vulnerable time in his life and took on the federal government and the Department of Veterans Affairs in a meaningful and honorable way. He created a grassroots movement to protect an estimated 20.2 million American veterans from suffering the same fate as he and his family did. He drafted his own legislation and successfully lobbied Congress and closed a 74-year-old VA legal loophole that has destroyed the lives of veterans and their families for generations. Bryan's heroic and unprecedented journey spanned 6 years, 4 congressional bills, and 1 law. Bryan's bill, the Bryan-Talley VA Employment Transparency Act, was signed into law on January 5th, 2021 by President Donald Trump. How come you don't mention the 9 Democratic co-sponsors of the original sponsor of the bill, which was a Democrat? Because that wouldn't fit in with all the Democrat bashing you're doing on your page, would it? Donnie gets the credit, not the Democrats who sponsored and co-sponsored your bill. Anyway, tell us more about the stock market, former landscaper and military veteran. You see, here's the deal. I understand that you can educate yourself on these issues. I have, right? I'm a former landscaper. I'm a high school dropout former landscaper. But I go and I read on these subjects. You can't seem to afford that to somebody else, right? Oh, now all of a sudden they're experts on the stock market and on this and on that. Same thing you're doing, man. Same thing you're doing, just with less hypocrisy.